be bringing you within the last 24 hours to 72 hours plane crashes news update in the last 72 hours across the world. So those are the things that we'll be covering. So, and I already have them well packed for you. And if you are just joining, welcome. Make sure if you are new here, welcome to Foskaay Aviation. I'm Solomon Foskaay. As a quick disclaimer and disclosure, I'm not a pilot, just a plane and aviation enthusiast researching, documenting things like plane crashes, aviation updates, and news on this channel. So if that interests you, getting all these things from the aspect of a aviation enthusiast, then like, subscribe, tap notification bell for more as well. I also like to see your comment, and if you see any aviation incident or accident you want me to analyze as well, you can comment it below. So let's quickly take on the first that we have for today is the Sonex that crashed in Midgee, Australia. So the first crash we'll be talking about is from Australia, and you can see the plane here. At the same time, I will also bring you how once it crash, how it looks. So, but let's first look at the date and time was on 18th November 2025. Like I said, I try my best to try to bring the update within like 24 to 72 hours, but this thing takes a lot of time to verify, try to at least get some fact to a level before I can put it up. So the type of plane involved is Sonex aircraft, Sonex Trigear. So it's an amateur build, and an amateur build is called amateur because the majority of its construction must be completed by the builder, not by a factory, according to the Federal Aviation Administration, that's FAA. So when a plane is like amateur built labeled, then it means they have about 51% of it built by maybe student engineer and things like that, or people put it like that, and it's also part of their certification. So they are different from the full factory made one as you see it here, and where you can see it, the 51% rule. This classification applied to experimental amateur built aircraft, where the goal is for the builder to gain an educational and recreational experience from the construction process. While kit and sub-kit are provided, the builder is responsible for fabricating and assembling the major portion of the plane. So for this plane that was involved, you can see it. This is after the crash. You see nose gear and all those things are off. So what happened? The occupant is one, that's the pilot. Then fatality is 0, so no one gets fatally injured here. And aircraft damage also is minor because all the other major parts here, the tail, the fuselage, the wings, even the front part is still okay, but seems maybe one of these fan is damaged. Let me know if you are live with me to put, or in the comment, seems one of these is damaged. So yeah, one of the fan, but it's very clear. You can see the tail end is high because the nose gear has collapsed. So the nose gear has collapsed, and so that's why you can see that there. So what then happened with this flight is a private flight, and whether at that time not really specified, but probably flying a VFR, that's visual flight rule. That means the pilot having to see visually landmark, other planes and things like that. So what happened? First landing in nearby near feed near Midgee, Rockhampton region due to nose gear folded untouched down pilot unarmed. So there was an issue and it just had to force land, and then the nose gear just collapsed off. And like I said, it's cool that uh, no life was lost in this. So this was the before of the plane. This was the before, and now this is surely the after. Let's see. Yeah, this is the after of the plane. So everything almost intact, just a minor, but that gear is gone. So let's move on to the next that I have for you today. This will be covering on the Cirrus SR20G3 crash in Hoshinomura in Japan. So this happened in Japan, and for some of the details of the crash is 18th November 2025. This also happened 18th November 2025, and the type of aircraft involved is Cirrus SR20 SG3. So you see the red number, and occupants were 3. So the occupants of this were 3 and the fatality were 3. So which means all the 3 on board, get fatally injured. I think they were like, it's a serious accident there, and our hearts to the family involved in this. So let's learn more about it, and then I will now show you more details of the crash in picture. So what really went wrong? It's a private flight. It's already fly to a place, then it's going to another location with plan to fly back. So weather not really specified, but sent a distress signal en route at around 5,000 feet. It sent out distress signal, and that was just it. The ADS-B recorded erratic, movement, and then eventually crashed into the mountainous terrain full of huge tall trees, and probably that might have been the reason, because if it were to be low land and things, probably it might be able to have emergency landing, but the place is full of tall trees, mountain, and I will show you in very briefly now. So in Oshima, Yame, Fukuoka, and what now made it even more was that it was consumed by fire. So like if you have been watching, when I give all this update, we've known that when plane accident happen and there is no post-fire, except it's actually a very serious crash, most occupants might escape with injuries, but when there is post-fire after the crash, then the likelihood of survival used to be very, very slim, especially in a very remote place like this. So let's now look at the pictures. So this is the actual plane before the crash. As you can see, it's there, and I try to get, I think this either flight aware or so. You can see this is the flight. Let me zoom it in for you to see. Yeah, I think this feels more better. Sorry. Yeah, I think you can see it much better now. So the green is the flight path. You saw how it had some up and down movement before it crashed there, and this was the whole plane, but you cannot even see the whole plane again because it's also got engulfed in fire. So if let's try to look at here. This is the wreckage of the plane inside. You see that it's surrounded with thick bushes. So it also would have imparted the chances of it. Probably it got hooked with a tree because it can't fly well and things like that. You understand? Because this seems to be a very wooded, huge, mountainous. You can see tall trees all around, and you can hardly see it inside here. And if I even scroll down, you can see it more now. And imagine this is the plane, small over here. Look at all this entangled tree that would have had to crash into. So all those things would have made the survivor of those, and no wonder they had to go through, and eventually none of them was able to survive the crash. So the three occupants, the pilot and two passengers, all of them perished in the crash. Our hearts to their family. Like, if you are just joining, don't forget to please tap that like button. It means a lot if you find it value. Taking the time to research, fact check this thing take a lot of time, and what I can appreciate now is you tapping that like button and tap the share button to share this if you find it educative. So that's the crash of it and the movement and the whole plane before it actually crashed. And you see inside the wood, it's even so difficult to even identify there, because and those rescuer also had a lot of issue to get in, because but due to it has made a distress call before it actually went down. It made a distress call at about 5,000 feet before it actually crashed in there. So I think that made it much easier. And also the locals were reported to also call 119. This happened in Japan, to like they saw something like a plane, and then each smoke keep coming out of the mountain bush and things like that. So before the rescuer were able to get there, and no life survive. Please tap that like button. So let's move on to the next crash to discuss is Antonov AN-26B in Norilsk airport in Russia. So this also happened on 18 November 2025, and the type of plane involved is Antonov AN-26B 100. So Antonov much around the Russia, Ukraine and things like that. So occupants are just the crew, no passenger and no cargo. So no fatality. The aircraft just had a minor damage. So the aircraft, you still see the after of it as well. So the flight, though it's like cargo but parked, pre-departed. So let's now see some of the weather and things like that, and then what went wrong. Snowy Antique, as you can see it was snowy during the time, and snow plow. What really happened was a snow plow clearing parking snag power cable. So it seems they are doing snow clearing and things, and some things went wrong. Snap a cable, which eventually caused damage to part of the aircraft. So let me zoom it in for us to see that. Let me know if the zooming in you like it and it's helping to see. Don't forget to tap the like button. So this is the actual plane before the issue, and this was it here at that situation, but you can see it's intact. So it's just, I think maybe the side there or something like that got impacted, but it's not really a much of something. So no one was hurt or injured, so everything is safe as well there. So which of these accidents or incidents, I used to ask, like, I try my best because this take time to verify. So how long you want me to include in this daily update, like 24, currently I do 24 hours to like 72 hours incident or accident like that. So maybe to extend it to like 4 days or five, you can put your own contribution right in the live chat or in the comment if watching later. So let's keep on. We will now look at the next one, which is the fourth crash. So what really uh, went wrong? Let's cover the that first. So this happened near Eureka, North Carolina in the US. So date was 18th November 2025 around 12:01 local time. And the plane that was involved is Cessna 401A. And you can see this the plane here. Don't worry, like I will still build it out for you since I'm on mobile. I have little limited screen at a time. So, but I'll still expand it for you to check it, the reg, and then occupant is one, just the pilot as you. Then the fatality, no fatal injury was recorded. The aircraft damage was substantial. You will see it more boldly here. That's it there. And the flight was actually said to be a survey. So it was on a survey trip. So local there. Weather not really specified, but at least you can see a bit of clear sky there, though might look a bit foggy as well. So what then really happened? Engine power issue. There was engine power issue, and then forced landing in feed. So pilot on arm. Remember, this was actually on a kind of survey tax. So flight. So let's look at the plane more clearly, and then before we even look, okay, this is the plane. Let's see that. Yeah, this is the whole plane, courtesy of jet photos. You can see that's the whole plane besides plane before crash, and this is it after the crash. Let me zoom it out, so then we'll zoom it back in. So what can you notice there? You can let me know in the comment, but for me, I think some things I can see. Let me zoom it in even further. I can see that this seems to be blocking, so I need to reduce it a bit, yeah, so that I can shift it up a bit more. Yeah, so I can see here like some of the gear might be missing, like the front gear likely collapse and it tip on, or this down gear seems I'm missing, not seeing those rear gear. Are you guys seeing it? Let me know below. Seems it's missing, and the front will likely have been going through a serious, because I can notice some parts here. If you notice this small circle, like maybe part of the front nose that's probably pop out or something. What do you see on that? So that's how I can observe this. So, but then let's see the flight path here. Let's see the flight path that it went, and you can see how erratic it was, just going up and down, up and down, up and down, that until things finally. So it wasn't a smooth ride because it was actually an engine issue. So you can see it right there. So that's, but at least at the end of the day, no, the pilot was unarmed. Now let's move on to the next one. which is United Boeing 77322 United Flight 869 in San Francisco Airport in USA. So if we'll still see more, I will zoom that out. But let's talk about the date. This happened on 18th November 2025. It was a post takeoff event, like when after the flight took off, and the type of plane involved is the Boeing 77322 So, and with the registration number and all those things, the occupant, this carry a lot of people, and glad it doesn't went so wrong, probably because of the fast and quick response of the crew. So it was actually carrying 336 passengers with 15 crews. That is a total of 351 people and souls on board. Wow. So, but all occupants were safe. So no fatality on board or on the ground. The damage, not really none yet. The flight is United Airline Flight 869 from San Francisco. The plan was for it to go to Hong Kong, but eventually had emergency return. So let's see more what really went wrong. The weather not really specified, but visible smoke outside plus burning rubber smell inside cabin shortly after takeoff. Pilot diverted back to San Francisco Airport. So that was the takeoff airport, because immediately after they took off, and they had safe landing and evacuation. So this didn't end up in a crash. Actually, it was a crash that was averted. So you can, what do you think if they didn't have crew that like pay attention to this thing? It might have ended up in something serious. So let's see some. This is the plane itself. Is a massive plane that can carry about 300 plus people. As you saw, it had about 351 people total on board, 336 passengers and 15 crew members. So it's a massive plane. And this, let's now see the, you can see this was one of the picture footage I got from the, I think Business Insider also interviewed one of the passenger inside. You can see it. This would have been scary. The passenger said it was very scary and had to even send message to a friend like, this might be the last flight, and but glad that it wasn't his last flight actually, because the crew eventually they shouldn't risk going on with this, and requested emergency landing back to the airport. So you can imagine being in a plane, how terrifying this would have been. Share below, being in a plane, and outside of the plane window you can see smokes like this coming out of the wings inside of the plane, or part of the engine and things like that. And then inside the cabin is smelling, having a rubber like smell. That can be actually terrifying. So that's what the he said they went through, but eventually they diverted, they landed back within like an hour. If you see this, you can see it here. This was their flight. You see it went and then eventually came back to San Francisco Airport and eventually landed there. So which averted maybe a possible serious crash, because probably NTSB will be investigating, and in future, if I get more update on it, I will likely be giving you more in-depth breakdown of what really went wrong. As of now, we can't say what went wrong. Just know that there was flame outside. There was rubber-like smell inside, and then they diverted and landed safely. 351 people on board, all evacuated successfully. So next flight we'll be talking about is the, let me reduce this. Yeah, I hope you guys can see it. Yeah, so that's the Honduras. This happened in Honduras, and on November 18th, 2025, it involved type Airbus A330-343 P2F, fighter. So that was like a passenger plane that was converted to fighter. That means to cargo. That was, seat, all those things removed, and then cabin crew. So the Airbus A330, 343 P2F fighter is a passenger aircraft that has been converted into a fighter using designation PF2 for passenger to freighter. The dash 343 refer to specific model, which is then converted notably for its large volume and payload capacity, making it ideal for express and e-commerce carrier. The conversion process usually involves structural modification to the fuselage, reinforced the floor and install large cargo door, and integrating a power cargo loading system on it. So that's what this plane went through. So the occupants were the crew, about 2 of them, no fatality actually, and the flight was like on taxi to depart, but whether not really specified. So what really went wrong is runway excursion during 180-degree turn at runway 22 threshold went off pavement. So, and then went to unpaved part of the runway, which probably was soft that time. So it's like the nose gear just sank in, but no one was injured or things, no major damage and things like that. So if I pull up the part here, you can see the flight was just on the same on Honduras. For those that don't know much, Honduras is like bordering with like El Salvador and things like that. I think those ones are more known countries like that. So you can see the plane. That's it. I want to zoom it out so that you see how it got this. The plane is a massive cargo plane. So this is how it got stopped. You can see it here. It's very off. This is the runway. I think runway 22, but it has very off it, and all these are like more soft ground. So all the grasses and things just got stuck inside that grass. So, but I think those has been fixed up. So those are the updates I have for you in the last 24 to 72 hours of plane crashes across the world. We've looked from US to Honduras to Russia, and other countries to Japan and more. So if you appreciate this and want to be seeing this daily, please don't forget to like, subscribe, tap notification bell, and share your own view on this. And like I used to say, like, how many days do you think I can be covering? Because it takes time to verify this aviation incident or accident. So, and as days go by, that's when you get more accurate info about them. And when it's even official investigation, it takes huge amount of time. So that's what I used to do most of the official investigation like NTSB, TSB of Canada, NTSB of US are more like that in separate detailed video when I have more detailed reports for individual plane crashes. So don't forget to share your own view in the comment, and please tap that like and share button if you find it educative. I remain Foskaay, and I will sure see you in the next one. Please tap the like button, please, and always remember to do good to humanity and nature with your knowledge, whatever you do, to make the world and universe a better place for us all. We'll see you in the next one, probably tomorrow. I plan to keep updating this, and what are those things you might like me to add up that keep you coming. Thank you so much. See you in the next one. Bye for now.